Well, hello there. How is everyone? I hope you're all well. It's Thursday. I think it's Thursday. Yeah, it's Thursday. You're looking absolutely amazing, by the way. I'm going to get straight into the meat and potatoes as we are, over the next few days, playing out the Jay Slater case, unless there is more invigoration. I'm going to do a live on Sunday that should have been yesterday, but I changed the live yesterday to the Idaho 4 because of the new documentation surrounding the change of venue. So, look, this is where I am. This is video 2 of 2 today, possibly more, I don't know. Look, this is my own personal opinion. It doesn't mean anything. This is just me talking to you guys like we're sitting around a campfire. Having a bit of a drink, and we're chatting shit. Chatting about this case that we've been following and having a chinwag about it. And I've come to a conclusion that I believe that either Jay Slater's family knows what happened or they're scared of saying what happened. Because look, I look at it like this. Jay Slater's family, Lucy Law set up a GoFundMe. She set up a GoFundMe. It brought in a load of money, £72,611, I think, as of filming this video. And I think to myself, that's a lot of money coming from the public. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of support. And, you know, there's things out there in Jay's past. You know, we know that he was attacked by a gang of blokes. We know that he was involved in the attack of another lad, a machete attack. They'd gone to court, they got offered some community service or whatever. They walked free, basically. And then he had been involved in this over in Tenerife, where they go to a rave. He's surrounded by ravers and people who could have potentially been involved in the narcotic world, because let's make no bones about it, that's a lot of that happens in Tenerife. It does. It's just the way it is. And one of the last people to see him alive was someone who had been previously, don't know whether it's currently, but certainly previously, had been convicted with leading the helm of a drug trafficking organisation and done prison time for it. And I think to myself, look, let's be real and just be real for a moment, right? I'm a parent, I've got kids. And I know what kids are like. I know what kids are like today. I know what I was like as a kid. I know the things that I got involved in. I know the things that we all do and we don't really want the parents to know about them. So I think to myself, there's two things here. Because if the family, right, if you just look at what happened, Jay Slater, let's strip it down. Jay Slater goes on holiday with his friends, ends up at an Airbnb away from his friends, at an Airbnb with an ex-convict being done for drug trafficking, and then winds up dead, right? If that was it, I think the family would be fucking going crazy. I think that they would be spitting their dummy out. I rarely do. I think they'd be all over it. And I even think if Jay's friends didn't know more or think more, they would be saying more. I truly do. Because you would even contemplate knowing about the area and knowing the shit that goes on in Tenerife and the other people who have gone missing, the other people who have been attacked, the other people who have lost their lives. Why wouldn't the friends be like, are we 100% sure? Because this don't seem like Jay. Even Brad had turned around and said, if Jay was thinking like me, he'd have walked back along the road. Why wouldn't he have walked back along the road? Why was he in the area where he was walking, for a start? All these little things, in my personal opinion, they tell me that people either know and they don't want the public to know, because this was perhaps misadventure, and perhaps Jay wasn't compos mentis, but they don't want this to turn into Jay went over to the party scene and got involved heavily in the party scene, and this was the repercussions of that. Because then what has happened here is the public have basically been hoodwinked. They've been hoodwinked purposefully by someone who was representing the family to change the narrative of a very simple story. And the very simple story is a naughty kid with a naughty past came and did naughty things and ended up dead because of it. But we needed somebody almost to be, look, let's take the focus off of the bare bones story of what this is, and let's add a load more elements into it that are going to make people focus on that instead. And that sits very uncomfortable with me. Sits very, very uncomfortable with me. You know, were the family aware of Jay going over there, for instance, and getting involved in doing the rave scene? Let's just call it the rave scene, because you're not stupid people. You know exactly what I mean when I say that. You know, Jay was in a mess and he was handed a bottle of water. Wasn't a bottle of beer to straighten him out or anything like that. He's handed a bottle of water. Now, water at the rave scene, in my personal opinion, means one thing. He also doesn't go home with his friends. He wants to carry on partying, apparently. So that's why he doesn't go back to the hotel. So he ends up going back to another... Do you know what I mean? This Airbnb situation. To go from the NRG festival over to this Airbnb with two men. You know, Jay Slater's a young kid, really. You know what I mean? He's a 19-year-old kid. And he goes back to a place with two men who are ex-cons, and winds up dead. Could you imagine if this was your kid? What would you do if this was your child? And what you know of the Jay Slater case, stripping all the shit out of it that was perpetuated by Mark Williams Thomas, for instance, if you remove all that, just think, all right, so my son went to a party, his mates ditched him, he ended up going to another place with some blokes and then left there. Apparently he thought that was a good idea to walk 11 miles and wound up dead down a ravine with a head injury. What would you do? What would you be doing right now? I'm asking you that. Let me know down below in the comments what you would do if Jay Slater was your son. If this was your son, your daughter, what would you do? Because the fact that we are not... But what I will say is, just because we're not seeing it, it doesn't mean it's not happening. So I reserve the right to come back on here and apologise and say, look, the family were screwing. They were looking to have stuff done, and this is what's now being done. They weren't, you know, so potentially knew what happened. Because I think if we do not see any action from the family, if we do not see any pushback on this narrative, even just natural pushback, even, you know, parents can't let things go. When they lose a child, it's very hard for them to accept what has happened, even if that looks very, very simple. And especially if the blame and what happened looks like it's pointing to their child, they will try and look at other avenues. And was there something else? Look at Riley Strain, for instance. Caleb Harris. You know, these are people and their families who struggle to accept what could have potentially been something very simple. So I would have expected, not that, look, they're in a rule book for how people handle it, but I would, amongst all of the people who are surrounding Jay, because apparently he was very, very popular, a lot of people around him, I would expect someone to be pushing back somewhere along the line. But apparently nobody is pushing back. So if nobody pushes back, we don't hear anything. In my personal opinion, they know. And I'll be interested to hear your thoughts and feelings. Do you think that those around Jay knows what happened? And irrelevant whether it was third-party involvement or whether this was misadventure, they ultimately know that this wasn't a case of someone who was completely compos mentis going to his death. And again, why that's important is I feel that was the likes of Mark Williams Thomas and these contacts that the family were getting, these points of contact that were saying, was this done in order to spin a specific narrative to obtain the funds that it got? Let me know down below, and I'll catch you all in the next one.